Yes, although I have to say that I feel myself firstly a global citizen, but it depends kind of where I am and when somebody's asking where I come from. If I'm outside of Europe, I always would say that I'm a European. So definitely I do identify myself as a European, but I do see that I have also multiple identities. I suppose I feel European mostly because I feel that like, kind of together we can achieve more than just as one nation. I'm from Finland, but I've been living in many other places, such as in Canada, Montreal, and in Berlin, in Germany, and in Brussels, in Belgium. And for probably about this formative moment question, I would answer that when I lived in Berlin in early 2000s, and I really saw physically how there was this wall before in the city, dividing the city in two different parts. When I was living there, still the area which had the wall before was kind of empty because it used to be like a no man's land. Nowadays it's more or less built up, but still the sign of the wall was very physically visible back then. So it really made me think how history can go in a positive direction. We can kind of forget differences and become as one Europe. So I would call that a formative moment in kind of understanding the history of Europe in a really physical way of seeing the the wall that used to be in Germany dividing like Europe in two, and now us being together. And by the way, I was an Erasmus student back then, which was EU's gift to me to be international and learn about other cultures. So EU was present in that way also in that phase of my life. There's not only one. I would say the Eurozone crisis was a very negative phase of the EU or Europe. But the second one I would like to point out is the so-called migration crisis. I feel that Europe has kind of developed into a more and more a fortress that forgets other people outside Europe that need our help and our compassion. And I'm really afraid that we kind of forgot our commitment to international law and that we have the responsibility of helping also other people than Europeans. So I feel that's a really black moment in Europe's history. I was very happy about the results of the European elections this year because we know all, well, some people at least, that since the European Parliament's first elections in '79, the turnout in the elections have been going down all the time, systematically. And I feel that's a big threat for European democracy and also the legitimacy of Europe. And I was really happy and a little surprised also to see that in the last elections the turnout got much higher than before. So I see that as a sign of hope that people getting more interested in Europe, in the European Union, and showing that they care about it and care about the future. So it made me very optimistic about the future of EU. I mean, obviously there are still a lot of negative tendencies that need to be fought against. Still, I feel that the European elections was a happy and good moment in the recent history, especially because the turnout. Some people speculated that the turnout will go higher because there will be a kind of a far-right populist surge in elections, and this was not the case. It was other people who turned up to vote in the elections. I have worked in the EU institutions, namely the European Parliament, for many years, a couple of years at least, and on a really personal level, I think that's the kind of biggest thing EU has done for me because I really enjoyed working in this multicultural environment, really learning about other people from other countries, trying to understand their way of working, which is a completely different. I think in Finland we have a different way of working in other EU countries, and it was just so interesting and exciting to work with people with other mindset and trying to achieve something in common. So I think in the corridors of the European Parliament, I felt really as European as I could ever feel. So yeah, so I think that's probably on the personal level the best thing I have ever gotten from the EU. I know it's a really privileged answer for the question, but I think it's something not to be forgotten, that EU is also a really good opportunity to have a really interesting job. We don't work long days in Finland. Firstly, we kind of tend to be really efficient. We turn up early at work, we go quite early away, and when we are at work, we really work all the time. But I suppose, I don't know, I mean, at least in Brussels context, that's not the way how things function. It's very important to meet your colleagues, have a chat with them, kind of get to know, I mean, not them maybe personally, but exchange ideas. I think that was really refreshing. I had so many interesting discussions. I mean, I'm not saying that the Finnish workplace, you would never get them, but I suppose I gave much more about myself in there. Of course, it's a question of being not in your home country, and you would have more time also to mingle with your colleagues. But I think I enjoyed the possibility of having longer lunches and discussing really because of course in the European Parliament, if you're working, the topics are grand topics and really contested ones. So you have to have skills how to negotiate with the other groups, other kind of people who have different views about what should be achieved in politics. So I really learned how to defend myself and listen to people's argument and find a compromise. I mean, that's not maybe about the different kind of culture working styles, but still I enjoyed not to be too kind of really clock efficient all the time. Yeah. I think the biggest burning problem of our generation or our time is for sure climate change, and I see EU has a lot of potential. I mean, it's such a big problem that one nation can't really fight against that in an efficient way. So I think that's really a field or a topic where EU has a lot to offer, but I don't see that EU is doing enough. For sure, it's not doing enough. So I would like to see EU really committing to a carbon-free society by 2030. I don't know, it's really ambitious, but I'm not saying it has to be carbon-free by that date, but it has to be much more ambitious with its climate goals, and to be very ambitious towards other international actors and kind of lead the climate, the fight against climate change internationally also. I think that's, I mean, anything else, nothing else is so important than this question. This is like the single most, the biggest question of our time, and EU really has to deliver on this.